Hello and welcome to our wrap-up of the one-off test between England and India in Bristol. I'm Valkerie Baynes and I'm joined by Annesha Ghosh to discuss all of the action from what was an absolutely fascinating match. Yes, it ended in a draw, but there were so many wonderful storylines throughout the 4 days. We had, just so many great stories. We'll go through them with you now, but I guess one of the things that really stood out on that last day, it came right down to the last session, the last hour, when they decided that they weren't going to get a result, was Sneh Rana's innings. She was unbeaten on 80, coming in at number 8, and that basically allowed India to hold on for the draw. What did you make of her innings and those of the other India batters in that second innings?
Well, Sneh Rana's 80 was easily one of the most impressive rear guard performances we've seen in international cricket in recent years. Perhaps for her to have stitched together that partnership with Tanya Bhatia was pivotal to India, not just taking a lead, but stamping their authority on the result of the game. Because remember, there is this ODI series that follows, so they want to take the positive momentum into the limited overs leg as well. Aside from the fact that she performed immensely well on the field, she was overcoming a bit of a personal tragedy heading into this test because she had lost her father to a heart attack a few months ago. And on day one, she dedicated her comeback to her late father. So it does make for a great script for somebody making their way back into the national side after 5 years. She's only 27. And with that performance, she has certainly assured herself of a place, in my opinion, in the ODI leg of this tour as well. Deepti Sharma was another very important performer for India on the day. She remained unbeaten the previous night and played, the kind of innings that was expected of her. She held up one end when Shefali Verma was out there. Verma unfortunately fell early in the morning session. She wasn't able to convert her 60-plus score, her second 50 of the match, into 100. But Deepti showed the kind of resilience that was needed of an India top order batter. She was promoted to number 3 after her unbeaten innings in the first first leg for India. The stalwarts in Harmanpreet Kaur and Mithali Raj herself were not able to deliver. They had a rather forgettable sort of match in terms of their own performances. But Deepti Sharma, Tanya Bhatia, Sneh Rana, what an outing has this been for India's 5 debutants, Shefali Verma and Pooja Vastrakar. Despite the fact that they did put on an immense fight back, there was a chance, I felt, that England missed in effecting a result in their favor. What do you think of that? Did they sort of miss a trick in terms of their field placements, or was it tiredness that caused them to not be able to, deliver the kind of bite that was expected of them in the final session?
I think one of the things that they probably were stung by, and Heather Knight sort of said in hindsight, possibly yes, was that they didn't pick a second frontline spinner. On a pitch that was offering nothing to the seamers, and they weren't going to know that for sure until they started, but they did know that it had been a used pitch and there was potential there. They were relying on Sophie Eccleston. She was brilliant. She took 4 wickets in each of the innings. She finished with 8 for the match. She bowled 64 overs throughout the match, 38 in the second innings. And it was, I think there was probably an element. She must have been tired after bowling 38 overs in that innings. They had Heather Knight's part-time off spin to rely on there, but they didn't have a second specialist spinner that they could call upon. So I think, that was something that they would probably, think, oh, maybe we could have done better. And Heather Knight said as much in her post-match press conference. But there were a lot of moments through where there was a feeling that England were going to get their first win at home against India in a test match. I think when Catherine Brunt took an absolute screamer of a catch to dismiss Shefali Verma, there was like, oh, they've got rid of, the big one that they were all really worried about. But then obviously, Deepti Sharma stepped in, and then the rear guard from Sneh Rana, and they actually batted with depth. And then it came down to England's inability to get those last 2 wickets that they needed. They just couldn't by the end of the day. So that was probably where they could have done better. And And, you know, hindsight's a fine thing, but, you know, that's what it's all about. And they will, you know, reassess that going forward. I think when we came into this match, we were both sort of talking about what we were most looking forward to seeing. And I just mentioned her there, Shefali Verma. She was who I really wanted to see. We didn't know that it was going to happen. We thought, oh, you know, maybe they will wait a little bit longer to give her test debut. And I'm just so glad that I got to, you know, see her in person. Twin 50s, and it almost diminishes calling a 96 a 50, doesn't it, because she nearly got a century on debut. It was just such a lovely story, but I really enjoyed her batting, and, you know, actually seeing in person. Her timing's impeccable. She's just wonderful to watch, and that was really nice. And that was probably my highlight of, you know, just sort of looking big picture from the test match. What I enjoyed most. What did you enjoy most from the test?
It's going to be that 167-run partnership between Shefali Verma and Smriti Mandhana, left-hand, right-hand combination. Two batters who know their game very well, and the kind of understanding they showed as a combination, as an opening tandem. It was a delight to watch them. You know, just bat like there's no other worry in the world. It actually soothed your mind, the kind of strokes they played. Mithali Raj interestingly said that she herself liked Shefali Verma's second 50 more than the 96 she scored, because Shefali, to her mind, to Mithali Raj's mind, looked far more composed, and her exquisite drives in the second innings was something Mithali Raj particularly was impressed with. But the 167-run record stand is something I am going to take away from this test match, and I hope Shefali Verma and Smriti Mandhana also go on to open for India in the ODIs. Shefali Verma is still uncapped in that format, but a debut is surely around the corner.
Yeah, and I guess one thing we should mention before going as well is that there was a talking point that came out on the last day, was the prospect of women playing 5-day test matches. Obviously, Heather Knight welcomed it. I mean, I think she would have anyway, but the extra day would, you know, definitely have been handy for England, particularly having lost a chunk of play on the third day. But she was sort of all for, you know, really seriously thinking about women playing over 5 days. What was sort of the feeling from the India camp on that?
Well, along expected lines, Mithali Raj said that she too would want to have 5-day tests, but that's clearly not on the priority list of the India captain, because remember, this was the first test India were playing after 7 years. So she wants the team to get more opportunities first in this format, and then if there is an addition of a 5th day made into the match, nothing like it. But for her, the target for the authorities, the boards, should be to ensure that there is more test cricket for women's teams to begin with.
The attention's now going to turn to the 1-day series and the T20 series between these two sides. If the test is anything to go by, it promises to be really exciting again. So we look forward to bringing you more action from there. But until then, goodbye from us.